Let's break it down. These are the 5 insane reasons the Philippines is blowing up into the next global economic beast, and why throwing your money here now might be the boldest, smartest, and most slept-on move you'll ever make. Number 1. Renewable energy is the new oil, and the Philippines is sitting on a gold mine. Let's be real for a second. We all say we care about the planet. We share videos of polar bears on melting ice caps. We repost wind turbines on Instagram like they're aesthetic accessories. But when it comes to actual investment, most people still chase oil like it's 2004 and we haven't learned a damn thing. But here's the punch in the face you didn't see coming. While everyone's pretending to go green, the Philippines already lapped them. Quietly. Strategically. And now? It's sitting on a god-tier jackpot of renewable energy, and barely anyone's paying attention. Yet. You want untapped potential? Try 25,000 megawatts of geothermal energy just chilling underground, enough to power several countries. Only one nation beats that, the US. But they're busy arguing about gas stoves and Taylor Swift ticket prices. Meanwhile, the Philippines is already lighting up 10% of Luzon with steam from its own soil, thanks to a $1.2 billion flex by Australia's Star Energy, who didn't wait around for some green energy summit. They saw the future, wrote a check, and plugged in. Now here's the kicker. Geothermal is just the appetizer. Europe's energy titans, Denmark's Vestas, Germany's Siemens, are scrambling to lock down solar and wind projects. Not tiny test farms. We're talking 5,000 megawatts worth of clean power capacity added since 2022. The kind of numbers that make ESG investors weep with joy. But all that? Still not the main course. Let's talk nickel, the real MVP of clean energy. Because without nickel, your Tesla is just a $60,000 paperweight with a screen. And guess who's holding 13% of the planet's entire nickel stash? Yup. The Philippines. Now here's where things go from interesting to economy defining. In 2023, Indonesia slammed the export door shut on its nickel supply. Just closed it like a suspicious tab when your mom walks in. And overnight, the Philippines became the world's #1 supplier. Think about that. The world is racing to build electric vehicles, wind turbines, batteries, everything green. And the one ingredient they all need? Now runs through Manila. Behind the scenes, the sharks are already feeding. Tesla? Got secret contracts locked down. China? Throwing money like it's counterfeit. Nickel Asia Corp? Up 200%. Foreign investment into the mining sector? $3 billion in 2024 alone. But here's what no one's saying. This isn't just a resource play. It's a power shift. Oil made the Middle East rich. Nickel could do the same for the Philippines, but faster, cleaner, and with a hell of a lot more upside. If oil was the king of yesterday, nickel is the emperor of tomorrow. And the Philippines? Sitting on a throne it didn't even ask for. So while the West is busy debating carbon taxes and rebranding gas cars as Ecolite, the Philippines is quietly becoming the Saudi Arabia of clean tech, minus the sand, plus the beaches, and with way better food. Now here's the soul stinger. You've probably scrolled past 1,000 green energy headlines, thinking it's all just noise. You know it's important, but it feels distant. Like flossing. Or understanding NFTs. But this is a cheat code. The Philippines isn't promising, it's already winning, while everyone else is still stuck in strategy meetings. And here's the part you'll hate to admit. You knew Asia was gonna rise. You knew climate tech was the future. But you didn't think this was where the two would collide, in a country most investors still confuse with Thailand and spell wrong half the time. So, let me ask you this. If the future of energy is being mined, melted, and monetized in a country no one's watching, what are you doing still looking at the old power players? The next great economic leap isn't happening in Silicon Valley. It's starting in steam vents, solar fields, and nickel mines scattered across 7,000 islands you probably couldn't name, but should definitely be investing in. Now, do you feel that? That creeping mix of curiosity and FOMO? Good. That's your gut catching up to reality. And we're only on reason 1. Number 2. Marcos Jr. just gutted the old rules, and investors are losing their minds. You ever watch someone totally reinvent themselves? Not like a midlife crisis tattoo or I just joined a startup reinvention, but an actual system-level glow-up? Because that's exactly what just happened in the Philippines. And no one was ready. Let's not pretend here. The Philippines has always been the maybe girl in Southeast Asia. Pretty, full of potential, amazing family values, but always showing up late, tangled in bureaucracy, and somehow tripping over its own red tape. The kind of country foreign investors liked, but only in a she's got a good heart kind of way. Not anymore. In 2023, President Bongbong Marcos Jr. walked in like he'd had enough of being politely ignored, and just torched every outdated rule choking the country's economic lungs. And I mean torched. 100% foreign ownership in renewables, airports, and telecom. No joint ventures, no local partner middlemen who do nothing but take a cut and eat merienda. Just full-on, no strings attached access. That's not a reform. That's a declaration of war on mediocrity. And that's just the starter course. Corporate tax? Slashed from 30% to 20%. That's lower than most countries that pretend they're investor-friendly, while bleeding your balance sheet dry with fine print. Capital gains tax for foreign investors in startups? Gone. Zero. Nada. Even Singapore had to look twice. Let's hit pause for a second. You ever wonder why investors always choose the same boring countries? Because risk scares them. Red tape terrifies them. And bureaucracy? That's where ambition goes to die. But Marcos Jr. just flipped the switch, turned the country from a bureaucratic maze into a high-speed, open-lane toll road for capital. No toll booth, no delay, just speed and access. The kind of setup venture capitalists dream about when they're pretending to meditate. And the result? $9 billion in foreign direct investment in 2024 alone. That's a 30% spike. During global instability. Not bad for a country people used to side-eye when talking ASEAN power players. KKR, yes, the $500 billion KKR, just launched a $1 billion, Philippines-only fund. Not Southeast Asia. Not Asia-Pacific. Just the Philippines. Meanwhile, SoftBank casually dropped $600 million on 5G infrastructure. That's not investment. That's a vote of confidence with a suitcase full of receipts. The UAE? They're not just investing. They're importing their whole smart city playbook and embedding it into Filipino soil. And here's the part that'll really twist your brain. Corruption? They're actually doing something about it. Yeah, I know. That sentence feels like a plot twist written by someone who's never been to Manila. But it's real. They passed a digital procurement law. Think of it like handing every shady government contract officer a flashlight and a live camera feed. Suddenly, those mysterious missing funds aren't so invisible anymore. And guess what? The country jumped 25 spots in Transparency International's rankings. Now, maybe that doesn't mean much to you. But to a hedge fund manager who's been burned before, that's the green light they've been waiting years to see. And let's not downplay the mental shift here. For decades, the Philippines was the guy in the group project who had all the ideas but showed up late and didn't do the PowerPoint. Charming? Yes. Reliable? No. Now, he's the one bringing in sponsors, organizing the slides, and somehow got Google to join the call. So what changed? Honestly, desperation met ambition. The country got tired of being the underdog with potential and started acting like the main character. And you feel it in the energy, the tone shift. Investors aren't dipping toes in. They're diving headfirst, portfolio first, no floaties. Because deep down, people are exhausted. Not from change, but from the lack of it. From watching opportunity get strangled by outdated policies and dusty legacy systems. From playing it safe while emerging markets explode with the kind of energy you can't bottle. We're not tired, we're numb. And then the Philippines lit a match. Now here's the question clawing at your curiosity loop. If this country, the one they said would never clean up its act, just became a blueprint for foreign investor paradise, what excuse does everyone else have? Why are you still throwing money at safe bets in overvalued markets with zero upside, when there's an entire nation quietly rewriting its destiny, with receipts, reforms, and renewable energy to back it? This isn't a Cinderella story. This is a power move. And it's only chapter 2. Because when a country goes from don't risk it to can't miss it in under 18 months, you don't wait around. You get in, or get left out. Number 3. This ain't Bali, it's better. You ever notice how everyone's chasing Bali like it's the promised land of enlightenment and smoothie bowls? Like a spiritual awakening comes free with your 5th overpriced acai. Let's be real, most of us don't want to find ourselves. We just want Wi-Fi that doesn't collapse every time it rains and rent that doesn't eat 3 paychecks. Now, here's the part nobody told you, there's a better Bali. And it's been hiding in plain sight. Welcome to Boracay 2.0, not the old party island with sunburnt regrets and half-empty beer bottles in the sand. No. This is Boracay with a Silicon Valley glow-up. Think, co-working spaces steps from the ocean, 5G streaming your Zoom calls so crisp you could cry, and visas handed out like flyers at a music festival. In 2023, they rolled out the red carpet for remote workers. Digital Nomad Village? Launched. Booked at 92% capacity within months. San Francisco coders? Check. Berlin UX designers? Already sipping calamansi cocktails. It's like Bali took a boot camp in UX and customer feedback. And Boracay? It passed with flying colors. But here's where your jaw might do that involuntary drop. This isn't just a tech bro haven with tropical vibes. It's a full-blown healthcare empire in disguise. You heard me. While everyone was too busy taking sunset selfies, the Philippines quietly became the place to get your heart literally fixed. Need a bypass surgery? In Manila, that's $12,000. In the US? Try $100,000. And that's before they even hand you the itemized bill for the Band-Aid. And this isn't bargain bin surgery with duct tape and prayers. We're talking English-speaking, Johns Hopkins, trained doctors. Private hospitals that look more like 5-star hotels than anything you'd find in a public ER. The kind of place where they greet you with a clipboard and a cappuccino. By 2024, over 250,000 foreign patients walked through these doors, bringing in $1 billion in revenue. That's not a stat. That's a mic drop. Still think Thailand's the medical tourism king? Their biggest hospital chain just set up shop in Manila. South Korea? Opening a cancer center. Because guess what? They follow the money. And right now, the money's heading here. Let's put this another way. You're not just booking a vacation. You're buying time. Saving your savings. Extending your runway. Living smarter, not harder. But here's the punch to the gut. Most people won't even consider it. Because we've been spoon-fed a certain image of Southeast Asia. Cheap massages, jungle waterfalls, and personal growth retreats that cost more than therapy. We're trained to think in postcards, not policy. We romanticize suffering in overpriced places because someone on Instagram made it look pretty. But the real flex? Getting a root canal and a beachfront tan on the same trip, and still coming home with change in your pocket. And here's what no one tells you. The Philippines is playing a long game. This isn't a one-summer fling with foreign investors. This is the kind of setup that makes cities like San Francisco look outdated. Fast-track visa programs? Already running. Tax breaks for foreign income? Active. Infrastructure pouring in? Yep, the kind with fiber lines and smart grids, not potholes and promises. It's not a dream. It's logistics done right. The kind of move that doesn't scream paradise on a postcard, but whispers it in every invoice you don't have to pay. Now, let's hit pause. Ever wonder why the happiest people you know are also the most fake? It's because pretending takes energy. And when you're drowning in hustle culture, you have zero bandwidth to be real. That's the beauty of what's happening here. The setup in Boracay and Manila actually gives people time to breathe. To live. To stop faking it and start actually feeling okay. That 9 to 5 grind? Turns out it feels less like a prison sentence when you're watching the sunset with a coconut in hand and a $15 acupuncture session waiting around the corner. Because maybe the cure for burnout isn't a week in Bali. Maybe it's relocating your Zoom calls to the Philippines and paying a third of the rent for triple the quality of life. Let's not romanticize the struggle. Let's romanticize smart choices. You want to hustle? Cool. But hustle where it pays off. Where the weather, the bandwidth, and the healthcare all work in your favor. Bali might have the brand. But Boracay's got the blueprint. And when the real wave of migration hits, it won't be the influencers leading the charge. It'll be regular people. People who got tired of grinding for scraps in cities that stopped caring. People who want to build lives, not resumes. So the next time someone says, "Why would you go there?" Look them dead in the eye and ask, "Why would I stay here?" Because here's the truth nobody wants to say out loud. The world is changing. Fast. And the smart ones? They're already gone. Boracay isn't the escape. It's the upgrade. And if you're still waiting for a sign to make your move, this is it. Number 4. The numbers are screaming. Why is no one listening? You ever sit through a meeting where someone drops a bombshell, like the company's bleeding money, but everyone just keeps sipping their coffee like it's fine? That's the global reaction to the Philippines right now. We see the headlines. We scroll past the stats. And somehow, we still sleep on what's shaping up to be the biggest underdog comeback in Asia. Let's rip the band-aid. You're not missing the signs because they're hidden. You're missing them because they're boring, until they hit your wallet. Q1 2024. The Philippines posted a GDP growth of 7.6%. That's not just good. That's wait, are we in Singapore? Good. Higher than Vietnam. Higher than Thailand. Actually, highest in ASEAN. And yet, crickets. The peso? Up 5% against the dollar. Inflation? Down to 3.5%. Exports? Surging like a TikTok trend with real-world utility. Meanwhile, your feed is filled with stories about job cuts, over-leveraged housing markets, and Silicon Valley trying to monetize loneliness. But here's what no one's talking about. While you're doom scrolling, BlackRock is bullish. Canadian pension funds, yes, the ones known for being boring and safe, are quietly snatching up Philippine real estate with 8% yield returns. That's double what they're getting in Hong Kong. So let me ask you something uncomfortable. If the economy's growing, the currency's strengthening, and the big boys are buying in, what exactly are you waiting for? A permission slip? A sign from the universe? Or are you just terrified of betting on a country that doesn't have an Apple campus and a Shake Shack on every corner? Here's the punch in the gut. The Philippines is doing everything the experts told developing nations to do. It slashed red tape, opened the floodgates for FDI, dropped corporate taxes, digitized procurement to choke out corruption. And guess what? It's working. But here's the catch, because there's always one. Narratives are sticky. Once a place gets labeled too risky or still developing, it takes a miracle, or a financial earthquake, to shift the story. People still think the Philippines is a B-tier player in an A-list game. Meanwhile, those who actually look at the data are cashing in quietly, while the rest of the world plays follow the leader into already inflated markets. It's like watching everyone crowd into a buffet line after the good stuff's gone, and ignoring the fresh spread next door because it's labeled experimental. Now let's be honest. You've heard emerging market so many times it feels like a euphemism for risky as hell. But emerging doesn't mean unstable. It means undervalued. It means early. It means potential. You ever wonder why your most successful friend never brags about their wins on social media? Because they're too busy collecting them. That's the Philippines right now. Low-key winning. Loudly ignored. The Philippines Stock Exchange? Up 18% this year. While Wall Street does the cha-cha between anxiety and apathy, Manila's just quietly outperforming Singapore. But sure, keep pouring your savings into markets that give you a 2% return and a daily panic attack. Look, I get it. We've been conditioned to believe opportunity only knocks if it shows up in a tailored suit on Bloomberg TV. But what if the real gains are coming from the places your algorithms aren't trained to see? We're not talking about blind optimism. We're talking about data you can't unsee. Still not convinced? Let's break this down. 7.6% GDP growth isn't a fluke. It's policy in motion. Peso appreciation means confidence. Investors don't bet on weak horses. Inflation under 4% means people aren't just surviving, they're spending. An 18% stock market spike means money's not just flowing in, it's sticking. This isn't hype. This is a PowerPoint deck your financial advisor probably saw and ignored. And that brings us back to the hardest pill to swallow. Most people don't want to be early. They want to be right, at the same time everyone else is. It's safer, more comfortable, easier to explain. But by the time everyone agrees it's a good idea, the upside's gone. Just ask the people who discovered Bitcoin in 2022. So here's your open-loop nightmare. What if this is your moment, and you're too scared to admit it? What if the Philippines isn't just rising, it's sprinting, and you're still sitting on the bleachers because the logo doesn't look familiar? What if the next economic story of the decade isn't happening in New York or London, but in a place you once Googled for beach photos and forgot about? I'm not saying sell everything and go all in. I'm saying, take a second look. Because the numbers aren't whispering anymore. They're screaming. And the longer you ignore them, the louder they'll get. And when the rest of the world finally catches on, you'll either be the one saying, I saw it coming, or the one quietly wishing you had. You'll move. Number 5. When China slows down, the Philippines steps up. You ever get the feeling the world's been looking in the wrong direction? Everyone's eyes on China, watching the dragon wheeze while pretending it's still breathing fire. But here's the uncomfortable truth. While China slows down, the Philippines is speedwalking past it in flip-flops. Let's get real. The West has an addiction. And no, it's not TikTok or overpriced matcha. It's cheap labor and stable supply chains. And when China started ghosting the global economy, the world panicked like someone pulled the Wi-Fi. But while everyone was staring at Beijing's economic nosedive, the Philippines quietly stepped into the spotlight. Not with fireworks, but with factories, free trade zones, and yes, 9 shiny new US military bases. Because guess what? Proximity to trade routes beats proximity to the problem. You want front row seats to Pacific commerce? Manila's handing out VIP passes. Japan knows it. $2 billion in maritime aid isn't a love letter, it's a power move. The US knows it. Defense pacts don't happen because of island sunsets. Confidence breeds capital. Like moths to a flame, or in this case, hedge funds to Southeast Asia. But let's not pretend it's all smooth sailing and halo. You ever tried crossing Manila during rush hour? That's not a commute, that's a psychological thriller. The country loses $1 billion every year in traffic-related productivity. That's not a statistic. That's a collective national migraine. Energy costs? Still biting like your Lola's sarcasm. Corruption? Getting better, but there's still enough budget leakage to irrigate a small rice farm. So yeah, it's messy. But so is every birth. And make no mistake, this isn't growth. It's rebirth. Because while some countries crumble under pressure, the Philippines pulled off a flex so underrated it's practically criminal. 2024 saw a $500 million typhoon season. You know how many economies would have crumbled? Meanwhile, the Philippines added 700,000 jobs. Unemployment? Lowest in a decade. 4%. This isn't resilience. This is economic jiu-jitsu. Bridgewater just moved 10% of its ASEAN fund into Philippine assets. That's not vibes. That's hard money following harder logic. But here's the part no one says out loud. This country isn't emerging. It's arrived. And if you're still calling it a third world underdog, you're either outdated or in denial. By 2030, this could be a $600 billion economy. That's not projection. That's trajectory. Remember Dubai in the early 2000s? When it was still half sand, half hype? Well, Manila isn't sand. It's steel, code, and capital, with a population that actually speaks your language. And here's the kicker. This isn't just about economics. It's about relevance. In a world rebalancing faster than a crypto chart, the Philippines isn't a backup, it's the new blueprint. So why is no one screaming about it? Because good news doesn't go viral unless there's a scandal attached. Because Western media still sees Asia through a Cold War lens. Because people can't process the idea that the country they once sent aid to is now outperforming their own portfolios. But smart money doesn't care about narratives. It chases ROI. And right now, ROI is wearing a barong and breaking GDP records. So here's your gut check. Are you still waiting for someone else to validate it? Or do you see what the billionaires already see? Because when you peel back the bias, the smog and the chaos, you get something the world doesn't talk about enough. A country that's imperfect, impatient, and impossibly driven. And that's exactly the formula for a breakout. So the question isn't, is the Philippines ready? It's, are you? Comment below with your gut reaction. Not your polite LinkedIn voice, your real, unfiltered take. And hit that subscribe if you're tired of hearing the same old safe stories. This isn't safe. This is what's next.